Greetings, brothers. Welcome to the Blood Angels Commander channel.
Hi, good afternoon, people. Good evening, wherever you may be. Thanks for tuning in. It's Sunday night, and that can only be one thing. It's time to look at some army lists. God, my camera looks so yellow. A little bit less yellow, but still yellow. Good evening, guys. How is everybody tonight? I guess that's the bluest I can become. Good evening, Mike, Daniel, Christian, Dark Ginger, XO7, James. Good evening, good evening. We've got like 6 lists to look at tonight. Let me find them. They're by Darth Reaper, Destromeric, James Gibb, Odd Sod, Price C586, Turkey Bastard, and then next week we've got like 5 more. Bravius, Dark Assassin, Doug, James Russell, Major Paint, and I know that a few people have actually submitted lists that haven't made it into those queue after tonight's episode. I'll reply to all your threads on the posts, and I'll let you know that you're in as well. Good evening. Thanks for being here as well, people that submitted lists. It's always nice to have you guys on the chat. Harry, Destromeric, Michael Rezio. Good evening. Good evening. Please remember to hit like on the stream as well if you do enjoy tonight's lists. And sorry I didn't stream last night. I was exhausted, to be honest, after an RTT. Sometimes that happens in tournament play, I find. By game 3, I had like a pretty decent-ish headache coming on. I don't really know why, just sometimes I guess doing a lot of calculations, thinking a lot can cause that. And then when I got home, I was just absolutely exhausted. So I sat down on the sofa and really didn't want to move, and I just didn't feel like streaming last night. So sorry about that, but I did take some photos of my games, and I did take some pictures of the tables. And I think I did learn something. I think I learned a bit from. I mean, you always learn in tournaments. I always think you learn more when you lose than when you win. I actually came second overall in terms of battle points. So, or VP, I guess, however you want to call it, battle points VP. So I didn't do too badly, but I learned a few things, and I guess I'll be trying to break them down this week. Probably going to aim to film a video tomorrow night for release on Friday as normal. Can I share the BCP results on... I don't know how... Oh, maybe I can just log into BCP on my computer here. Hold on. I very rarely use BCP on... Like... Will it come up in my events? You're registered... How do you see your historical events? Unlimited. Oh, can I not see my historical events because I don't pay for BCP? Give me 1 second, I'll have a look. I mean, I could take a screenshot of the placings and I will I'll be sharing that this week anyway. But I'll take a screenshot of the placings anyway, so I have it. Yeah. BCP on desktop is a bit clunky. Yeah. I mean, I did drink plenty fluids. I took some chocolate bars with me. I took some like other bars, and I took loads of water and bought water as well at the event because I had a shop. So, I mean, just I don't know. Sometimes I can find 3 games of Warhammer pretty exhausting. Maybe I'm just getting old. Like I remember when we were young, we could just play Warhammer all day, but like now, if I play 3 games, I'm pretty exhausted. Uh, but I mean, I am coming. I like last month I had Lyme's disease, so I'm pretty sure I'm cleared of that. But like it's a bit like COVID. I think you can get like long-term Lyme's disease. So like I think I'm. I don't know if I'm just tired from the 2 kids or if I'm just tired permanently at the moment. So anyway, yeah, I'm gonna be 40 next year. I'm actually gonna be 39 in like 2 weeks' time. So maybe that's it. Um, Cheese sticks is good food for event. James, I'll keep that in mind. I'm maybe if it's like proper cheddar, but like those cheap cheese sticks, that's what I think of when I think of cheese sticks that like kids eat. And God, I hate those things. All right, so Darth Reaper, his list's going to be up first. He would love some advice. Have a 1-day tournament at the end of the month. Okay, so he's playing Tide of Conviction, Abandoned Sanctuaries, and Conversion. Let me just grab my book. Um, this might be worth showing anyway. Let me see. Do I have it? I thought I had it. Maybe it's in my... No. If you are going to play a 1-day event, and you know the maps before, yeah, cool, okay, I do have it. I did this before my event, and I don't know if you can see it. You might not be able to see it. You know what, I can probably flip to my full screen camera for a second so you can see this. 1 second. Right, yeah, full screen camera. So, if you know the maps that you're going to be playing before the event, this was like my prep for my event. So like this is actually the official the thing that came with the event, like the games and stuff. So because I was playing like a super heavy tank here, I figured out like where I would want to deploy it, where I would get good firing arcs, where I might want it to be if I wanted to hold an objective. I also wrote down like what secondaries might be good for me on this, and how many points I thought potentially they could score. And like I prepped for all my maps, like and just scribbled on everything so that like hopefully I made the best decisions. I didn't make the best decisions, but I mean it's worth taking 10 minutes before a 1-day tournament or even a 2-day tournament to look over your missions. And yeah, Abandoned Sanctuaries is a terrible map for Blood Angels because you can't pre-game move, or you can pre-game move, you just can't end up in no man's land. Alright, secondaries I'm thinking is Raise the Banners and Death from Above. 2 units of Sanguinary Guard in reserve. I never take Death from Above, and I don't know if I would take it with just 2 units of Sanguinary Guard in reserve. I mean, Death from Above is like, what, you have to get multiple kills with units? I'm trying to think if I would have ever scored high from picking Death from Above this weekend, and honestly don't think I would have scored that high on any of the maps. So if it's in... Oh yeah, that's not it. The secondary. To get 2 victory points if you kill with reinforcements and 3 for characters, like... I don't like it. I would feel like you'd have to be reserving half your army to get good points from Death from Above. And Raise the Banners, I generally think you should never pick this if you're not on a 6 objective map. I just think that, like... I mean, I guess you can pick it on a 5 objective map if 2 are on your side of the battlefield and you feel like you can hold 2 for the whole game and you can get 10 points. And then it would be decent, but I think it's just much better to avoid banners unless you're on that 6 objective map. Because if they nick one of them off you, then you're just looking at 5 points, and it's pretty bad. Okay, so he's got a priest who's upgraded to the Selfless Healer, and also has Rites of War, also has the Relic Teeth of Terra, and I guess that makes him the Warlord. So that's like a 3 CP investment right there. That's a lot. Got Mephiston with Wings, Unleash Rage Quickening. That's exactly how I ran Mephiston at this event that's just run past. Got a Captain with an Infernal Pistol, a Relic Blade, he's a Jump Pack, he's got Soul Warden, he's got Angel's Artifice, give him an extra toughness and extra wound. And I was going to say that's basically 5 CP spent just here. And he's Chapter Master. Sorry, I missed that bit. I was thinking 160 points. He's going to be Chapter Master. Okay. Assault Intercessors and Doubling Cursors is exactly how I run my list, so that's fine. You got 3 Sanguinary Guard with 8 in each squad, 2 Infernal Pistols in each. I mean, overall it's fine. I feel like Sanguinary Guard are probably fine in 6s or 7s. So I might, in this list, drop 1 out of each squad. I mean, like, the way that my tournament just went at the weekend, if enemies ever get line of sight on Sanguinary Guard, it feels like, I mean, they're just Marines with a slightly better save, and they're 2 wounds, and there's so much 2 wound stuff around there. Sorry, there's so much 2 damage weapons around there. They die. Sanguinary Guard die as quick as, you know, I lost my entire 7-man squad of Sanguinary Guard in cover to like a few squads of Tempest Scions. In 1 round of shooting. Like, it wasn't even, you know, it wasn't even close, I don't think. I also lost a whole Death Company to a squad of a couple of Tempest Scions. So, like, I don't know if there's a huge advantage in putting more, like, having that 8-man Sanguinary Guard over the 7. I suppose maybe if you're near a Feel No Pain from the Priest, but even then, like, I played Refusal to Die, 5-up Feel No Pain, and still lost them. So, like, on my Death Company. So I think that Sanguinary Guard are fine in 7s. I would take those 90 points that you've got there and from 3 of them and try and find something back. I think 2 Infernal Pistols is fine as well. The trade-off with Infernal Pistols is that you're not good at Auspex Scan. Like, 6 bolters are never going to do that much work in Auspex Scan, so you just have to be aware of that. You've got 2 assault squads. I guess these guys could potentially be action monkeys. I'm surprised you didn't put any of them into reserve when you're talking about a death from above list. I mean, seems like one of them could be in reserve for sure. And then 2 squads of eliminators with last fusils, and last fusils are fine. I'm gonna have to give Eliminator some play. I mean, I took a super heavy this weekend. You guys know that. I'm gonna put it on the shelf for a while and try and figure out something else. And I'm tempted to try and figure out Gladiator tanks. And the other Blood Angels player at the event that I was at was running a Kratos, which actually looked like it wasn't bad. It's just annoying that Kratos is 18 wounds because that stops you ever obscuring it, right? Alright, let me think about this for a second. I don't know if I like 3 CP investment on this priest. It feels like if he wants to be the Selfless Healer in Rites of War, that's fine, but then he should never really be in combat, right? Like, he should be hiding maybe a little bit and giving out his Rites of War aura. And also, I guess he's starting this with 1 CP. He hasn't written down any CP, but I think it's 1 because he's spent 3 on this priest and then 2 on this captain. I don't like starting the game on 1 CP. I mean, I guess it lets you use your Death Company for Forlorn Fury, but then you would, and I guess you could Hammer of Wrath, but then you would never, if you go into the opponent's turn, for example, you're never going to have 1 CP to interrupt, which I like having enough CP for counter-offensive or interrupting, as we sometimes call it. 3 squads of Sanguinary Guard is fine. The 2 Eliminators is fine. The Action Monkeys is good as well. I would definitely be starting one of them in Deep Strike because, I mean, they're there to do Nakman data. Does the Kratos have Martial Legacy? That's a good question. I know it's got 18 wounds, but it can get about the same amount of. It can get slightly more Volcons or Volkite shots. It does have Martial Legacy. It can get slightly more Volkite shots than a Relic Contemptor. So, I mean, the problem, I suppose, with the Kratos, or the problem with tanks in general, is that, like, sometimes it feels like to take a tank, you're forced to take a tech marine. And I think at the moment it's stronger to take the priest and blood angels lists than the tech marine. Okay. What could we change here? I mean, I'd change our Angel's Artifice for Armor Indomitus. You lose 1 toughness, but you gain a 3 up in vulnerable save, which I think can be priceless. Let me think. And I might even make the captain the warlord and give him rights of war. So the captain has armor indomitus, soul ward, and rights of war. But then that's the captain I run. So maybe that's just because that's what I like to run. It influences my decision. With Death Company with 3 Thunderhammers and 2 Power Swords is fine. I mean, a lot of people run 4 hammers, but I think 3. I think what you've got there is fine. I guess the one thing that you're lacking is any way to make the opponent fight last, and the other thing that you're lacking, I guess, is, or maybe not lacking, you're giving up a shitload of points here for no prisoners, right? Like 6, 12, 32, 8, 8, 8 is 24 plus times 2, 48, so 80 plus these guys 90, 100, 110, 120. So you're giving up 14 points and no prisoners, which is a lot. And that's one of the reasons that I don't like an all-infantry Blood Angels list. And I get that all infantry is strong, and I get that all melee is strong, but like, all melee leaves you weak against stuff like Fight Last. All melee leaves you open for a pick against no prisoners. And Blood Angels tend, like, our infantry, even with Armor of Contempt, really don't survive. You know, like I played this weekend against Harlequins and Tempest Scions. The game against Necrons wasn't that much of a problem, but the other 2 games, like, they kill Marines just as quick as we kill them, and our models are twice as many points. Primaris tanks just need fly, and they would be serviceable. I think some of the Primaris tanks might be okay. Couple in laser vindicators would work over a Kratos. I wonder if a couple of gladiators might work over a Kratos as well. Because we keep talking about the Gladiator Reaper, but we don't talk about the Lancer much, and the Lancer has that 2-up ballistic skill on its main cannon. So maybe like 1 Lancer, 1 Reaper might be the way to do it. The nice thing about the Lancer, I guess, is it doesn't need the Tech Marine to become a bit more reliable. I'd like to see the Math Hammer on the Bike Captain Armor Indomitus, yes, but jump that T5 upgrade, I don't know. See, the T5 upgrade might help sometimes, Michael. But the great thing about Armor Indomitus is you don't have to turn on Armor Indomitus until you have to make the saves, right? So they roll all their attacks, they roll all their wounds, and then you go, ah shit, this looks pretty nasty, let me put on Armor Indomitus, or, you know, I can survive through this, let me just roll my normal 4-up invuln, right? And that's the flexibility that Armor Indomitus gives you, and yes, it's only once per game, but it's really like an, oh shit, I really need my captain to survive this combat, this turn, this angel sacrifice, I can do it. Whereas I think toughness 5 or toughness 6 will help maybe a little bit, but you know, not overly, not like massively. The Lancer's heavy 2d3 plus 3, and the Laser Vindicator's heavy 3 flat 6. Yeah, I mean, the Vindicator can't move, right? And the Lancer has a longer range. I guess with the boards being full of terrain these days, then the Vindicator Laser Destroyer is probably the better of the 2 picks, yeah? Alright, so that's my feedback on a list like this. I think if you want to win a tournament with a list like this, you need to be at the absolute top of your game, and Yeah, I mean, like I've been playing Blood Angels exclusively now for 4 or 5 years, I think, since I came back to the hobby, and like I failed one time with my. So I surrounded a Harlequin vehicle and killed it in the combat phase, but I left like a very small space where he could disembark some of his units from it. Because they were within 3 inches of the tip of one of the wings, but they weren't within engagement range of one of my models. So like, I guess it was a noob mistake, but it you could call it a noob mistake, but like, you know, I don't often play Harlequins with all those spiky bits on it, right? So like, I think a list like this, you got to be playing at the absolute top of your game if you want to win in a tournament. And Abandoned Sanctuaries is going to suck as well because you're not going to be able to do a Furlong Fury with the Death Company, so you're going to have to spend a turn getting into position. It's a tricky one, Darth Reaper. Hopefully, I gave you some good advice. Hello, Duncan. Or Duncan. I must be tired. Die, see you. Looked a little bit like Duncan when I just glanced at it. Harry Lane, I'd like to see a comparison between the Lancer and the Stormspeed or Thunderstrike. Both hitting twos, both are 150 points. Lancer's T8, but the Thunderstrike has better movement. Interesting comparison, actually, Harry. I don't know which would be better. I feel like the Thunderstrike. I mean, the Thunderstrike is the one that I bought. I've been slacking. I haven't done any modeling on this for a few weeks. But the Thunderstrike is the one that I bought, and I think that use your words, John. I think that's the one that probably feels like it fits more as a Blood Angels list than a Gladiator tank. But I guess we'll see. I do want to try a laser destroyer in a couple of battles. I commissioned one a while ago. It's still not come through, so um, I have no idea what I'm going to run before this next GT, which isn't 2 months' time. Sorry, Destromeric says, "Hi John, I posted again on my original list for the introduction to the list. I think it might have been missed. If it's okay to have a look at, are you seeing it on my screen, or is there something that you're missing?" Destromeric. Aetherium Fox says, "Something I've been struggling with a new player is with lists similar to this but more shooting, is dealing with effective screens." That's very true, Aetherium. That's why I feel like it's very difficult, because like people always say like, well, just use your Sangre Guard bolters. You know, like people will say that. People will be like, well, we don't need All right, let me try and find this. People say like, well, we don't need to take fire support because your Sangre Guard have bolters. Well, I mean, I just played against. Let me test. You know, like I just played against Harlequins. Like their entire. All right, hold on. I think I've got it. Their entire army is -1 to hit. They also have like toughness 5 and 6 in all their vehicles, and everything's in a vehicle, right? You're not getting to shoot any of the guys. Like they're all in transports. All the transports are open top, so they can shoot out at them, and they're all toughness 5 or 6. So when you actually do hit them, you know, let's say you use the squads of Sangre Guard that the last guy had. So you 6 Sangre Guard. So you shoot them, you're -1 to hit, so you're hitting on 4s. So you hit 4 times. While you're wounding on 5s, so you wound 2 times. They've got a 4 up invulnerable save. So you shoot a whole squad of Sangre Guard at a transport, you do 1 wound. Right? So yeah, it's just like you need sort of weight of fire to get through it. In fact, probably the best thing to get through them would be like Volkite weaponry. But I mean, like we fall back 6 months, and like I'm looking when I was playing Harlequins, I was trying to figure out like what could be better here, because it's a very difficult it's a very difficult matchup for us, especially with -1 to hit and a lack of rerolls. Because I mean, I feel like I base a huge amount of my combat strategy on rerolls, and also like the reliability of Space Marine hitting. Okay, let's check out what Destromeric said. All right, I recently seen on the Hobby Hangout. Sorry. I seen on the recent Hobby Hangout the list is going ahead on the 18th yet. I should hopefully have it finished and join you live. Can I have a... Yeah, okay. You can have a slight revised. Alright. Old school player starting in the 2nd edition. Stopped playing during 5th, now getting back into painting and getting back into playing. I do enjoy 3D crafting lists. The most confusing part for me is 9th has been relics, trait, stratagems with all the changes during this edition. I think I've it under control now. With Nephilim, I feel slightly point starved at the start with only 1 CP to be used before the battle for either Fallen Fury or placing the Radicator squad, DC, Dread or 1 Sanguinary Guard squad into reserve. Remember, you won't have to pay to put a Sanguinary Guard squad into reserve because they have Death from Above keyword, or they have... I'm sure it's Death from Above, actually. It's really annoying. They call the different deep strikes lots of different names, but for Sanguinary Guard, it's Death from Above, so you can put them into reserve, or you can put them into become a reinforcement for no CP. You don't have to pay for them for strategic reserve. They can become reinforcements. Look up Death from Above rule. But I mean, you'd have to pay for the Radicators in the Death Company Dreadnought. You're right. While this list includes heavy intercessors to hold deployment backfield objective, I'm toying with the idea of replacing these with 5-man infiltrator squad for the scramblers. I mean, the scramblers are definitely good. It can protect your backfield like crazily effectively. Eliminators and incursors for concealed positions for the advanced taking objective, and I do like to take objectives early in the game using incursors. That's definitely a valid choice. HQ choices I've made include a fair amount of buffs and auras, turning Astaroth into a bit of a smash character, additionally with Psychic Fortress, Soul Warden, and Selfless Healer. Any models that within range, their survivability increases. With the elite part of the army, my thoughts are Power Swords and Karmic Swords should be auto picks. I mean, they're very good. The AP3 is very good. The Death Company Dread for higher toughness model stomping. I mean, the Death Company Dreadnoughts generally stomp most things, but you should probably have Death Company with hammers as well if you want higher toughness stomping. I also noticed in this list I included 4 troop choices, which for sure may be taken away from other units. In this instance, the Assault Intercessors with an Eversor may be an option. I'm not sure I love any of the assassins right now beyond the Calexis. Eversor is maybe good into few armies, but also can fall over into some armies as well. A focal point of the army is around buffs and auras to punch through key units characters. Without playing any games in 9th as of yet, it's all working theory. We'll be doing another list in the future with Terminators, as the Blood Angels Space Hulk models need to be given the spotlight. Yeah, Blood Angels Terminators are always brilliant, aren't they? Okay. Mark says, run the units you're passionate about and know best. If you have the most experience and energy for it, then your knowledge of opposing armies will shine through. I do agree with running the units that you know best. Even if other people tell you they're not best, if you're the most familiar with them and you feel comfortable with them, then I would run them over what other people say. Because I think like you need to sort of experience units multiple times in combat, etc., to get a feel for them. Okay. You got Astaroth with Mantle and Canticle, and I mean, I like Astaroth's damage output. I don't like how survivable he is. We have a Librarian with Might of Heroes Null Zone. He's also got Soul Warden. He's also got Psychic Fortress. I'm not sure how much value is in Psychic Fortress now, actually, because is there a lot of value still in Psychic Fortress, a 5-up invulnerable save? I mean, I guess I'd probably rather the Veil of Time to give you fight first and reroll charges, but I mean, that's fine. You got a Force Sword, you've got Rites of War, and you've got Visage of Death, and he's your Warlord. So this is a beefed up character. The Rites Visage combo, I don't run Visage of Death. I would run... if that was my character, I'd run Armor and Dominance. I'd give him an extra wound and the 3-up and run when he needs it. Visage of Death, -1 to hit in combat and flipping an objective, sure. I usually feel like Rites of War alone, against most enemies, will flip objectives. For example, like yesterday, I had my Chapter Master on a bike next to 8 Sanguinary Guard, and that's like, that's 9. or maybe it wasn't 8, it would have been a 7. So that's 8 OBSEC models on an objective, usually. You know, like Blood Angels, we have enough stuff that flips it. Unless you're fighting knights or something. Okay, you got the Sanguinary Priest with Icon of the Angel on Selfless Healer. Selfless Healer doesn't seem so important anymore. Icon of the Angel for reroll Charge Bubble. I don't know how often I feel like I fail charges these days. The only charges I seem to fail are ones coming in from Deep Strike. So I might drop Icon of the Angel. I'm fine with you running Selfless Healer. If you've got a lot of infantry in your list, it makes sense. But if you don't have a lot of infantry, then it doesn't make a ton of sense. The one thing that's important to remember if you do have the Selfless Healer is when you resurrect models, resurrect them in a position that makes it like, that gives you advantageous, right? So like resurrect, use your full 2 inches of coherency, and put that model down at the front of the squad to lower a future charge distance or something like that, right? Didn't you fail a Crux charge the other week against Sisters? I mean, maybe? Did I fail a small charge against Sisters? I mean, it does happen. But then my question is, like, you're paying 1C for P for Icon of the Angel. Is the Priest always going to be next to the unit that needs to be charging? Or, you know, like, if you're charging all over the map, would you rather just have the 1CP for a reroll, like, targeted where you need it in the map, as opposed to an or around the Priest? I guess that's up to you. I guess it depends on how you play the Priest, right? Assault Intercessors, Heavy, and Double Incursors. Okay. I feel like Assault Intercessors now at 100... Like, if you're going to keep 3 troop choices, I'd keep the Heavy and the Double Incursors. I'd probably lose the Haywire Mine for 10 points. That would give you 110 points free. I was going to say, run a 5-man Death Company with Chainswords. Like, a 5-man Death Company with Chainswords. They'll get more attacks than the Assault Intercessors, because they'll get 30, whereas the Assault Intercessors only get 26. They'll get to move 12 rather than Assault Intercessor 6. They'll get to think. They'll get a Feel No Pain as well from the Death Company. You already get 3 squads of troops, and you also got Rites of War. You don't need these Assault Intercessors. Replace them with Death Company. Looking at your list straight off, that actually gives you 3 Death Company units as well, which means like that wouldn't be a totally... You're actually not in a bad place then for potentially... You're right on the edge of like, if all the secondary options are shit, you could take Fury of the Lost, because 3 Death Company units, assuming they can all kill 1 enemy and then they all die, that's a 12 victory point. That's 12 victory points for Fury of the Lost, right? Well, assuming they all die in different turns and they kill units in different turns, right? 2 squads of Sanguinary Guard, both... Sorry, a 7 and an 8. 3 Infernal Pistols in each. I mean, it's fine. All swords. I sometimes like to throw a couple axes in there, because sometimes you're not fighting Armor of Contempt stuff, you're just fighting regular stuff, like Orcs, where the extra strength of the axe means you'll wound on 2s rather than 3s, and they still won't get a save because it's enough AP. So, and then why I like to run 2 axes as well is because when units start dying, I can pick. I can be like, oh well, this is an Armor of Contempt enemy, I'll keep my sword guys alive. Or this is an orc where the AP from the swords is wasted and it's actually harder for me to wound with the swords because I need to wound on 3s rather than axes on 2s. So I'll my dead units will depend on who I'm fighting against, right? Mike only runs axes because he doesn't have enough swords. Cool. Eliminator squads times 1 with Last Fusel. And Eradicators with Melt Rifles. And then the Whirlwind. Okay, so a little bit of heavy support. And I do like including a bit of heavy support. This seems tiny bit light to me, but I mean, you've got a Death Company Dreadnought, which is maybe a bit of a distraction and could be cool. But yeah, I think you have to, like, I wouldn't run 4 troop choices, especially if you've got Rites of War. I think having the second squad of Death Company would be valid. I mean, you could even. I feel like you could even like the Haywire Mine. I don't think it's worth 10 points to do like D3 mortal wounds or something like that. Yeah, I actually could have scored a lot better yesterday, Highland Phoenix as well. I picked. I have very. I've literally played Harlequins twice in ninth edition, so. Uh, yeah, I think like a couple of better secondary picks, and also we had to talk out the last couple of turns of the game because the game was. I don't know if we just ran out of time or if my opponent was slow. I wish we played on chess clocks actually because I think I could have had another 10 points. But I think it was a more casual tournament where people weren't playing on the clock. Yeah. Uh, I honestly not sure if I'm gonna go back to that those tournaments ran in that location beyond like I think I'd rather play the 2 day ones where things are a bit more. I like playing on the clocks at tournaments. I think it's good. I hate it when the game end like we still had 2 turns to play when the time like because it was in the shop as opposed to like a actual tournament venue and it was like the final table. They were like closing the shop so the game had to end and I was like uh honestly it kind of felt like bullshit. So I don't know if I want to go again. But regardless, my secondary picks could have been better. Yeah, so I'd probably try and trim at least one of your pre-game CP spend. Like I feel like you got to start on 2 CP. Starting on 1, in my opinion, is too low. Andrew only dropped because there was no one for him to play against. Um, so he basically just ran the tournament. Yeah, the Haywire Mine to me, I'm sure it's just like when you get charged once per game, it does D3 mortals. Like I just didn't think it was worth it. Once per battle. Oh, you actually have to roll a 2+ and then they get D3 mortals. So there's only a 1 in 6 chance it even does anything. Like sometimes it just does nothing. Yeah, I dislike this Haywire Mine. I would. If you compare that to the mine that Eldar get, their mine is like web was it like the web grenades that their scouts can do? It's like way better. What the hell? It's another boat. I was gonna say it's another poor marine rule, I guess. Yeah. So I dropped the mine. I dropped one squad of the troops. The assault intercessors stand out to me, and maybe put in a couple axes. It's a little bit unorthodox doing all bolt pistols and infernal pistols and no hammers, but I still think it's decent. So I might bring the second squad of Death Company, or I might bring like I was going to say like a couple more Eradicators into the squad, so it's a 5-man Eradicator squad. In my experience, I ran 3 Eradicators last time I went to a tournament and got pretty deep. 3 like if you're fighting dreadnoughts, let's say you get 3 Eradicators. Let's say they double shoot the dreadnoughts. So you get like what would it be? It would be like 6 shots. You make 4 hits. You make like then you have to. So you got 4 hits. You get a wound on 3 pluses. So you make let's say 3 wounds. They maybe save one of them, and then it's D6 damage because you're not going to be that close to the dreadnoughts. So you're going to do like 7 damage. And I think in the game that I played against the Redemptor dreadnoughts, I think I did pretty much. I think I did like 8 damage, and then it got -1/-1. So it kept him in top bracket for a whole extra turn, and didn't feel that great. And in that tournament, my only fire support was the Whirlwind and the Eradicator. I went like a whole melee list in that event. So I think if you're going to run Eradicators, 3 might be too little. You could maybe go heavy melta rifles. That might help, but I think maybe a bigger squad might be the way, or 2 squads. I've ran 2 squads of Eradicators before. I kind of think that might be better, or a squad of attack bikes. You could do a squad of attack bikes here. If you lose, oh, that's my daughter up. I'm going to be right back. I need like a big intermission that goes. Do they need the sergeant to double shoot? No, the eradicators. They just need to declare every unit. Sorry, every model has to shoot the same target for the eradicators. It's called total obliteration. Exo says you would take 3 more eradicators and combat squad them instead of the heavy intercessors. Okay. Oh, you combat squad them because that would fill up your heavy support slots. That's a good point. Yeah, I never thought of that. Jamie says 4 eradicators is a sweet spot. Okay. They don't need the sergeant to double shoot, so the combat squad and the eradicators would work fine. Eradicators can't advance either to use total obliteration. Yeah, and if they advance, they're -1 to hit anyway, so ideally you don't really want to be advancing eradicators. Stofist, thank you so much for following. Do you like eradicators that much? I find them too slow on the dense 9 edition boards. I dropped them after the last tournament DTM, so I guess I don't like them that much. But I do think there is play, like they also the nice thing about them, and I could be wrong here, is that it's 1 CP to put them in reserve. So you're bringing in 6 multi-melta shots. It's a pretty cheap unit as well. I mean, I guess you could probably do it just the same with... what's the power level of a Devastator squad? Probably do it the same with a Devastator squad, honestly. Yeah, I mean, they're 8 power level as well. I guess the difference would be if you were running multi-meltas, for example, in the Devastator squad, they would be heavies, so you'd be -1 to hit. So you'd have 8 shots hitting on 4s against 6 shots hitting on 3s. How does that math? 8 shots hitting on 4s gives you 4 hits. 6 shots hitting on 3s, I think gives you the same 4 hits actually. Yeah. So you pay, if you compare it that way and you want to bring them in as reserve, then eradicators are considerably cheaper than a Devastator squad, because Devastator would be 90 plus the 4 multi-meltas. Yeah, so the eradicators are like 40-45 points cheaper. And they basically end up with the same amount of hits. Odd Sod's watching live because he doesn't have to work tomorrow. Nice. Okay. Yeah, I think get rid of a unit of troops. If you've not played any games yet, lose Visage of Death and either replace it with Armor Indomitus or just don't replace it. And then, I guess, play a game or two with your Sanguinary Priest with Icon of the Angel and feel like if you get value. If you don't, I think you can lose Icon of the Angel and just pay your 1 CP when you need to reroll a charge. I think one of the key things to say about 9th edition, and DTM just touched on it, that terrain is so dense, right? Like all these tournament maps that I played yesterday, the terrain is so dense that normally if you have a jump unit, like when I say jump unit, I just mean a unit in a jump pack with like a 12-inch move, you move them up behind a piece of terrain in one turn and then you jump out the piece of terrain in the next turn. You should never really have to make a charge of more than like... I'm trying to think like what the longest charge I made out with my deep strike charge. So my deep strike charge was like a 9-inch. So I need to roll an 8. I think every other charge I made yesterday was probably needing me to roll like a 6. I only had one other long range charge, which was like a 10-inch charge, and it was almost like that was just one charge where I think I'd won the combat anyway, because it was just like, oh, maybe my captain's going to join this really long range charge. Even my charge at the end of the game, one of the games, the last action of the game was me scoring 15 points for Relentless Assault, and even then it was like a 6-inch charge, right? So like, yeah. Mark said, I like Eradicators for Raven Guards, where you can bring them in reinforcements, not for Blood Angels. I mean, you can bring them in as well. Now I know a Death from Above, so I think at least one Sanguinary Guard and the 3 characters would be in reserve. I'd stay away from Death from Above, honestly, dude. Like, when you drop down and you need to make an 8-inch charge, or you need to make the 9-inch charge, but you need to roll an 8. That's a risky play. Even with a reroll, that's a 66% chance. I don't think you want to be doing that more than like once a game. Honestly, like if you go to a lot of tournaments, I'm one of the few people that has reserves. Like I'm gonna say yesterday in my tournament, the Eldar player had one squad of guys in reserve, and yeah, sure, the Admech had guys, or the Militarum guy had some guys in reserve, but it's really rare. I'd say like most people are trying to start most of their units on the board, and I think that's why I don't like Death from Above. I don't see any top Blood Angels players playing Death from Above either. I haven't had any connection issues with the internet today. Do you have any other questions, Destromeric, before we move on? In my last tournament, I didn't see people use reserve other than me. Yeah, in the big tournaments that I've been to, like the big GTs, there's very few people that are using reserves beyond maybe putting something in reserve to do like NAC mandate in a quarter or behind enemy lines in the deployment zone, right? Netflix have a Cyberpunk series. I did not know that. We've been watching Better Call Saul, actually. We're really near the end of it now. Jim says nobody I've played uses reserves. Yeah, I don't think Death from Above is a good secondary. I actually think Blood Angel secondaries are pretty poor when you compare them to how easy some of the people that we're playing against are scoring in secondaries. Like, it seems like the Astra Militarum just had secondaries where it was like, oh, I'm just going to get 15 points for this. And the Necrons had secondaries where it's like, I'm just going to get 10 points for this straight away, you know, like, and it's like, ours are difficult. Relentless Assault can be countered can be countered as well. So Death from Above for me, I just would stick away from. Reavers are cheap and handy for schooling Relentless Assault during the grapple hook. What does the grapple hook give them? Does it give them outflank or something? Have we finally found a use for Reavers? Say it ain't so. Reavers, grapple. Oh, they get outflank. That means what does outflank mean again? You can deploy them inside the opponent's deployment zone in turn 1? Or no, turn 2? We finally found a use for Reavers. No way. Okay, well I'm gonna include a squad of Reavers, I guess. Remind me what the outflank rule is precisely. Is it just outflank? It's not there. It's not there. God damn it. I thought it would be on Wikipedia. It's just any board edge from turn 2, is it? I probably have to just search strategic reserves, honestly. Rizal says I rarely use reserves if I have a Terminator unit in a different army or a reserve one. Yeah, Terminators in reserve are good, aren't they? It's not strategic reserves, it's just out. So what if they've got outflank? You don't have to pay to put them into the reserve either. Ah, right. Okay, that's why I'm confused. Okay, and they just come in any board edge. Well, fuck it. I'll include a squad of Reavers in my next game. Did they make their grapple launchers cheaper? Did they? They only just 95 points now. Okay, I'll include a squad of Reavers. Why not? I need a new list anyway. My last list let me down. All right. Sorry, Destromeric. Did you have any other questions? If not, then thanks for submitting the list. You're welcome to put in questions any night, even if we're not looking at your list. Thanks for hanging out as well. All right, James. And James, you've been a member of the channel for apparently a year and a month. Thank you so much for supporting me for this amount of time. It's really appreciated, dude. Alright, here's my list for review. It's slightly skewed as this list is for club nights where I may be obligated to only play only plan 1,000 points and a weak 1,000 points against new players, but at the same time the list needs to be powerful enough to hold its own against experienced players. Alright, then that makes it tricky. I've marked the units to go in the 1k weak list. You can understand some of the picks. But I'm interested to see how this list will score against more tuned lists. I know that HQs are not the best available. Equally, the Sanguinar can still score me Blade. The troops can score banners fairly well and have enough units to get R&D scored. I wish the Sanguinar was better these days, you know that? The Laser Vindicator does a flat 6 and is heavy 3, so it's about the most reliable fire for the points. I would agree with that, and it doesn't cost CP, yeah. I think I really want to buy a Gladiator Lancer, but I think the Vindicator Laser Destroyer is honestly the better shot. Yeah, I've marked any CP for a Relic or Warlord trait, but I definitely go with Rights on the Primaris Lieutenant, who goes with a Blade Guard, a push, and also Visage of Death on the Captain. I would prefer Rights on a more mobile character than a Lieutenant, unless he's got a Jump Pack, which he doesn't. Okay, so you've got a Gravis Captain, who's the Warlord. You've got the Primaris Lieutenant, who is the Rights. Then you got the Sanguinar. You got your Assault Intercessors with the Plasma Pistol. I would prefer a Power Sword here than a Plasma Pistol. Danny's going to be bringing double Reapers this weekend. Is that your only fire support, Danny, or are you bringing something else? We've got Intercessors with a Power Fist, and we've got Intercessors with Thunderhammers, Auto Bolt Rifles, and Bolt Rifles. Again, Intercessors are fine. I just think Incursors are a little bit more viable. Just because if you really need them to survive on an objective or something like that, you can smoke screen them as well as Transhuman. You've got Reavers with the Grav Shoots. Wouldn't these be 95 points then? Based on what we just saw? Or did they didn't make the grapple launchers, the Grav Shoots free, did they? Why would you actually, speaking of Reavers, why would you take out flank? Why would you take grapple launchers over the Grav Shoots? Wouldn't you just... Because outflank means you need to come in on the board edge, whereas Death from Above just means you come in anywhere. I guess it's because you can move vertical distance, but like, whoever does that? No one really... The game's usually pretty one level, right? Sorry, continue. Blade Guard Veterans with the Neo Volkite pistols. Death Company with Thunderhammer, 3 chains, 2 Thunderhammers, 3 chainswords. I think you really need to get more Thunderhammers in that squad, dude. 2 just won't cut it into some targets. And when you're Death Company Forlorn Fury, man, they have to trade up. Like, that was my problem against the Harlequins list. Like, I looked across the table and was like, what can my Death Company trade up against? And like, there's nothing in his list that's over like 100 points. So I was like, huh. So I have to send in my 160 point models and they're going to die. That sucks. But against so many other armies, like, you know, Death Company can take down a 300 point tank. They can take down 250 point Tyrannid monsters, you know, so like, pay the extra points for 2 more Thunderhammers and make it happen. It should be 165. I'll be bringing triple Landspeeder Vengeance. I don't even know what Landspeeder Vengeance is. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, what is a Landspeeder Vengeance? Oh, you mean like you just be bringing triple Landspeeders with multi-meltas and you're calling them Vengeance because it's cool? Oh, it's Dark Angels. Oh, right, okay. And what has a Landspeeder Vengeance got? What's so good about it? Good evening, Andrew. Okay, so then we've got a squad of Sangry Guard, and it's 5 with Infernal Pistol and Sword, and 1 with a Power Fist. And then we've got a squad of Sangry Guard with 3 Power Fists, and it's an 8. I would go 6 and 7, honestly. Like 8 and 5. I think 6 and 7 is just better. Also, don't really feel like you need Power Fists on Sangry Guard, but like, I don't hate them either. If you've got, I was going to say, if you've got a captain nearby, or you've got your warlord nearby to give them +1 to hit in the reroll ones, then I don't have a problem with the Power Fists. If you don't have that, then the Power Fists are going to suck, because it's 4s to hit, which is which is rough. So I would, I think the first thing you got to do is you got to get yourself like a better captain, James. Do you have a better captain? You're just playing this for fun, or yeah, or you could. I mean, I think 5 Death Company with power swords and infernal pistols is good as well, right? Because with infernal pistols like that, you could maybe open up a vehicle. Like 5 with power fists and power swords and infernal pistols would have probably done better for me against Harlequins, right? Because I could have shot the 5 infernal pistols at like one of the, oh, I forget the name of the things, the dedicated transports Harlequins have. What are they called? The Star Weavers, right? Yeah, they're 95 points. Yeah, so like, I would have shot my 5 infernal pistols at the Star Weavers from close range. I guess if one of them goes through, it's potentially enough to blow up the Star Weaver, and then you get like 25 swords into whatever's left outside from it. You one-shotted Val with that squad last night. Yeah, I mean, that's probably a squad I need to make, honestly. So I like that, so I would maybe change that. But I also think that you want, to make that squad even better, you want a chapter master. And you also, I think you need a captain on a bike or a captain with a jump pack to make this list stronger. And I don't think a captain on a bike or a captain on a jump pack necessarily makes you too powerful on a smaller 1,000-point game, right? How many times have I gone on about infernal pistols? It's essential. Well, I mean, I guess, yeah, it's that whole thing, Highland Phoenix, where like I don't have enough hours in the day to make all the Blood Angels models that I need. I don't know how I will ever find enough hours in the day. I'm gonna have to, like, the next thing I want to buy, I'm gonna have to commission it, because otherwise, like, I got models all over my desk that are 3/4 painted that I want to finish, and I need new stuff, so it's gonna have to be commissions. It's either gonna have to be commissions or I don't make YouTube videos, and I'm not, like, I'm making the YouTube videos. That's happening because like, I love making the YouTube videos. So I'm making the YouTube videos. So I'm gonna have to, some of the money that's coming in, I'm gonna have to commission something. I need a new commission painter as well. You got a squad of suppressors, which I guess are fine. You've got an assault squad of the plasma, which is fine. You get the laser destroyer and the whirlwind, and then the eliminators. I'm not sure. I feel like the whirlwind is so important in the smaller game. I guess it can hold the backfield as well. This is so James, what's the deal here then? Like, this is a list that you're taking to your club that you want to be strongish, but it's not a tournament list. Because I think one of the things that screams at me is like we can get away with like one character that's maybe like foot slogging it, but like our warlord, like I hate Blood Angels lists if our warlord's not on a bike or a jump pack. Hello Carter, good evening. Trevor says, good evening John, I'm totally converting to Assault Centurions after playing them for the first time this week. Totally shredded my friend's orcs. How many Assault Centurions did you run, Trevor? And what weapons did you put on them? Because I've got a bunch of Centurions. I got 3 actually that I painted, and I want to get 3 more. JT Money says, John, you already have a commission, just trying to sort out what's happening for you. What do you mean, JT Money? I'm confused. It's DTM says it still amazes me that you don't have all the models. I will. If you look at the Space Marine roster, if you wanted 3 of every squad, DTM, like the amount of time and effort and also money, and I mean the scariest parts for me would be time. How did your tank go at the tournament? Terrorist, it did okay. I scored the highest battle points out of first place, but I didn't finish in the top 5 or something. So I'm going to do a video on that this week. I'm going to try and like break down what I learned from taking a super heavy to a tournament. I mean, I kind of had fun, but also it was a bit of a frustrating experience. So I'll try and make like a really positive video on like the fun and the learnings and what it might mean for my future list. Yeah, I did already commission somebody. It just seems to be on hold. Yeah, I did. I commissioned Voidsman at Arms, a Vindicator Leader Destroyer, a Terex Drill, and something else actually. What was the other thing? Oh, an Ironclad Dreadnought. Like I commissioned all those things. And it's really annoying because people keep saying like the Vindicator Laser Destroyer is the best thing to run for fire support, and I was like, yeah, I commissioned one in May, I just don't have it. Carter is going to give somebody a free membership. Is Danny? Danny, welcome. Come join our Discord, Danny. You now have access to our members only room. Carter, you're a star, Carter. Every like last week as well, you gifting out memberships. Thank you so much for that. Trevor's running squad of 3 Centurions with Hurricane Bolters, Flamers. He will be buying more. My opponent was very happy to kill one model only for my priest to resurrect it. That's what I used to do with my Centurions, but I guess shooting has got a lot more deadly for all the new codexes, so that's why I think... I'm not sure I love a squad of 3 Centurions anymore. That's what I used to run when I started doing it. James says, it needs to be capable of dealing with the meta-experienced 2K players but not stomp on the newbie players. Well, I mean, then switch it up, James, so that you get the Sanguinor into your 1K list, and I guess maybe like you lose. I was gonna say, if you get the Sanguinor into your 1K list, oh, the Whirlwind isn't in the 1K list, sorry, okay. Thank you for the commission hat, Island Phoenix, much appreciated. Can I show up in my green armor and robe? Yeah, absolutely, and you've got a green name now. Congrats, Danny. Welcome to... Please come into our members only room. It's a cool place to hang out in Discord. Yeah, I think like if you want to be competing against serious players, you can't have your jump pack guy. Sorry.
Island Phoenix donated £4.49 via Super Chat. Commission hat.
You rock, Highland Phoenix. You can't have your captain, who is your warlord, who's buffing your Sanguinary Guard and buffing the Death Company, and I mean potentially even buffing the Blade Guard veterans. You can't have him walking 5 inches. It's just not going to work. That's my biggest takeaway. James is going to try and make 5 Thunder Hammers. Got the hammers. Got any suggestions where to get empty right hands? Empty right hands, sometimes you can get right hands that have grenades in them as well, I believe. eBay is usually the best place, or sometimes like tactical squad kits can have hands with like ammo or grenades in them. That's what I did. Empty hands is very difficult to find. I was going to say suppressors are the other thing that jump out as me is like not great. I played suppressors a few times and felt like they never did enough damage to be... And they never did enough damage to warrant the 100 points you would spend on them. Yes, they can prevent Overwatch sometimes against infantry, but you've already got your Whirlwind to do that, so I would probably replace... And I played suppressors before Armor of Contempt, so I assume now, if you play suppressors, they're just kind of useless. Would it be better to field an attack bike or a land speeder here? Because you've got, removing the suppressors would give you a fast attack slot. Rezio uses a grenade hand more off the old grenade hand for Death Company, and technically the Death Company can throw grenades, so that works. The guys with Thunderhammers can't shoot, but they can throw a grenade. And eBay is the place to go for spares. Yeah, sometimes if you're in the UK, there's a place called like Bits. God, I haven't bought from them for a little while, but I think it's like Bits and Kits. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen this site. So you can like, they sell little bits of all, like 40k, Horus Heresy. They have everything. Stuff comes and goes in stock, so you have to keep an eye out. But like I'm probably, they have every kit on here, so I'm sure you can find something. Bits and Kits. I've bought from them before. I do. I am tempted to go for Gladiator Reaper. I'm tempted to go for 2 Gladiators actually because this Vindicator Destroyer hasn't come through for me. But yeah, I think Jump Captain needs to be in here. I also think if this is a serious competitive list, then when you do your Jump Captain, because you don't have a priest, I would say give your captain Soul Warden and probably Rites of War. Did you mention Rites of War at the top? You were going to think about giving the Lieutenant Rites of War. I mean, Lieutenant Rites of War would be fine as well. But the reason I like Rites of War on the more mobile characters because he can get to where he needs to be straight away. And I mean, that's why I like him, the Rites of War on a bike captain, because the bike captain can advance an auto 20 and then give Rites of War 6 inches away. So basically you can put OBSEC 26 inches away next turn wherever you need it to win an objective. But Soul Warden is also very, very useful now because there's so much shit that's dishing out mortal wounds. Like when I played Harlequins yesterday, it was like, oh, here's a power that doesn't need line of sight that can do 6 mortal wounds. I'm like, oh, great, that sounds balanced. My best power needs line of sight and can do 3, and mine needs like a double roll, whereas theirs just needs a single cast. Don't get me started on some of these new codexes, but yes, I think Soul Warden is one of the most powerful things we got. If you look at the top tournament lists at the moment that include Blood Angels, they're all running Soul Warden. A lot of armies can spit out mortals now, so protection against them is, for 1 CP, it can be worth its weight in gold, I guess. Bitsbox is another one that I use regularly. Mark's shouting out in chat. Yeah, Mark's absolutely right. Bitsbox. Or is it? Yeah, Bitsbox. I was going to say, am I reading that right? Let me see this one. I'm sure I've used this as well. Yeah, I've used these guys as well. So both those sites are reliable in the UK, and you get little bits. And sometimes it's a lot cheaper if you buy off there because you only have to pay postage once, right? On eBay, you have to pay postage multiple times. Sometimes the postage on eBay is ridiculous. I remember when I was looking for Thunderhammers, I ended up going to Cromlech, which is no, I was looking for Storm Shields for my Vanguard veterans. I think it's cromlech.eu. And I went to Cromlech. Do they still exist? Yeah, here. No? Do they still exist? I mean, I know that I know COVID has like killed things, but are they still here? Or maybe they've changed their website? Bits of War. Okay. Oh, look, they've got Cromlech up here. Okay. So I bought stuff from Cromlech because I wasn't willing to pay like $2 or $3 on every single Storm Shield from eBay. So it was basically like £5 for per Storm Shield on eBay. And oh, look, these guys have just like arms and weapons, and I'm not seeing hands, but I mean, there's 11 pages of stuff. You could probably look through it and find something that fits your needs. Cool. Alright, James. Any other questions before we off? Good night, Mark. Thanks for watching so far. Hello, Proton. How you doing? Astaroth as Soul Warden is a great choice for a 1k. Yeah, if you're going to make Astaroth your Warlord, he is indeed got Soul Warden as his Warlord trait. It's good as well, right? Cool. Alright, let's move on to Odd Sods. We've got 3 more lists. I think I'm going through the list pretty slowly tonight, actually. So we'll try and speed up a tiny bit. Cool, James. Thanks so much for submitting the list. And as I say, thank you so much for supporting the channel all this time. It's so appreciated. Okay. Odd Sods. Thanks for the list show. I really enjoy them on Monday mornings on my long drives for work. Alas, I don't get to watch the live show most of the time that I start in the morning. Here are new lists. Sorry, here's a new list I've been working on for some time now. Most of it will look familiar, but it does have a twist or two. Plan is Retrieve Nat 1 data, Relentless Assault, Blade. I don't know if you can plan for Blade in every game, I feel like. It's a difficult one, and sometimes it can come back to bite you in the ass. I was already taking Champion of Humanity on the Librarian Dreadnought before your recent video about it, but you confirm my theory. Great character killer. But I have an issue in my local meta. Toughness 5 on Necrons. So to get around this, I have to come up with a novelty combo. Pay attention to my Sanguinary Ancient and Guard. They won't be in Deep Strike, but as long as I can move them up from obscuring cover by turn 2, it shouldn't hurt. The Gladiator is not cheap, but is a good threat with the Ballistic Skill 2 and lasers anyways. Cool. Alright, so it's a 3 CP starting 2000 point list. We got Librarian Dreadnought with Champion of Humanity, which does indeed make him a great character killer. That's +1 to hit, +1 to wound, and +1 to attacks when near characters. So it counters his shitty weapon skill of 3, and it also means he's +2 to wound. So if you ever have -1 to wound nonsense like Harlequins do, you'll still be +1 to wound. He's also got a metal gun. You got Sanguinary Priest with a jump pack. Feels sad that the Sanguinary Priest doesn't have Rites of War, but let's see what's going on. Alright, you got Rites of War down here. Alright, I'll let him off. Assault Intercessors and Cursors. And Cursors looks good. 2 squads of Death Company with 4 hammers in one, 3 hammers in the other. And I mean, what we were talking about earlier is I do like having 2 squads of Death Company. Good evening, Price 586. I do like having 2 squads of Death Company. I think when you deploy, you put one down at the very start, and you put one down at the very end. Makes your opponent have to sort of guess where the Forlorn Fury is going to come. Keeps them potentially on their toes, or keeps them sort of legit about their deployment. I do like the idea of having different squads. Like the one I ran recently was one with 4 Thunderhammers like this, and one with all chainswords. And the one with all chainswords was not bad. I mean, if you run into toughness 3 enemies, then you're wounding them on 2s, right? And it can be -1 or -2 based on if you can get Forlorn Fury.
James Gibb donated £5 via Super Chat.
Nice.
Can't have Highland pushing the Reaper without a counterplay for the Lancer.
Alright, well, I mean, No, I didn't actually buy either of these yet. I'm gonna have to buy Gladiator, I'm gonna... You guys are twisting my arm. I bought the Storm Speeder you guys were on about, so I guess Gladiator next. I'm probably not going to buy an Astraeus in the near future. I mean, I'd like one just to complete the collection, and it's a cool super heavy tank to have. But is it good enough to win a tournament? I don't think so. Yeah, like I said, I would like an Astraeus. I just don't think I don't think it can win a tournament at the moment. Maybe it can, but yeah, I was honestly surprised at how easy some of the enemy armies killed it. Okay, yeah, so I like the idea of having the second squad. You could do the Infernal Pistol Power Sword shenanigans. I notice here that you don't have 6 elite choices, so you could even do a cheap squad with the chainswords and then a more expensive squad with like Infernal Pistols or Power Swords. That seems like a cool option as well, or even 5-mans with just Power Swords. But I mean, 2 Thunderhammer squads are fine as well. I guess the Infernos sometimes can just pip it, depending on what exactly happens. But thank you so much for the $5, James. It's so appreciated. Doug says, I'm very new to 40k, especially Blood Angels. Most of my buddies run Shooty or Psyker lists, Thousand Suns, Ultramarines. Any advice on how to keep your melee units alive long enough when you play mostly 1k games? You have... I mean, if you're... This is going to come down to the terrain that's on the table, Doug, and you need to be playing with official terrain rules. In terms of like, if you just Google like WCT terrain, right? And you click into like the WTC website, and you look at like there's a terrain pack right here. And I think you can probably just download it. I'm sure I've downloaded this before. I'll click it here. It'll load in a second. The Sangre Ancient on this list has rights and has Wrath of Baal, so 2 inches of extra movement on all the jump units, which is really useful. I honestly think Wrath of Baal is better than Icon of the Angel. Because I think with Wrath of Baal, you can position all over the map to get that extra movement. And then Rights of War, so you can flip the objective. I think this terrain pack opened. Yeah, so like when you look at some of these maps, like look how dense they are, right? And that's how these are like official terrain. So this is what they're expecting you to play with on the official missions. So like on this map, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces of obscuring terrain. You've got 6 vents that will be like -1 to hit and +1 to your armor save. Then you've got like 2 pretty large obstacles. Now, this is to balance melee lists against shooting lists. So the melee guys have enough obscuring terrain to hide behind to get onto objectives and stuff like that. So like if you're gonna play really shooty, like if you watch any of the games live on my channel, you probably notice that like in turn, like I'm quite happy for the enemy to have turn 1, because when they have turn 1, they shouldn't, even after they've moved. So like you need to be thinking about like where they can move and where they can move to get firing arcs. But even after they've moved and they've got all their better firing arcs, ideally, if you've deployed correctly, they shouldn't be able to shoot a single one of your units. That's like the holy grail of becoming like a top tier Blood Angels player. And then in like turn 2, when you move out, you should basically be advancing from cover to cover. So in turn 2 again, their options are super limited. Now, one of my games yesterday at the tournament, I want to say by like turn 3, he killed 4 models. And that was basically because like I'm just hiding everything. Like I'm moving across the map, he can't see anything, so he can't shoot anything. And then when it actually comes down to like, let's do some combat now, most of my stuff is at like 98% strength. Like like in that game actually, I think I killed just about every single unit he had on the table and lost like 10% of my force. And that's probably an extreme case, but like that's what moving from cover to cover can, that's a difference it can make, Doug. If I just applied everything out of cover, it's probably a completely even game, and you know, he shoots half of me to death. So in your 1,000-point games, and I don't play 1,000 points much, but I think like if that example there was like, I think on a 2,000-point game you're looking at 8 to 12 pieces of obscuring terrain. I think in 1,000 points you probably need like 6 to 8, maybe even 6 to 10. So if there's not 6 pieces of obscuring terrain on the board, you need to tell your buddies that like, hey, if this was a tournament, it would be expected that there's this much terrain, because my army doesn't survive if it's being shot, and I need to be able to move from terrain to terrain. And I've seen some people actually put comments to me before about like, hey, I'm just getting shot off the board, and then they've showed me that their table has 2 pieces of obscuring terrain on it, and I was like, yeah, you got absolutely no fucking chance as a melee player if there's 2 pieces of terrain on the table. Like there needs to be the equivalent for like a tournament game, because that's what the game's balanced for, right? You then have 2 squads of Sangre Guard, and it's a 7 and it's an 8, and you've got a shitload of Power Fists in one and a load of swords in the other. I don't like the Power Fists on the Sangre Guard because I feel like the -1 to hit counters out the +1 to you get from wounding. So I think it's wasted points personally, unless you're playing orcs that need you to hit them with transhuman strength 8. But I noticed like you don't really have any rerolls in this list. And who's the warlord? Alright, the Sangre Ancient's the warlord. Okay, so the Sangre Ancient will at least be with the Sangre Guard, so they're getting +1 to hit. But yeah, I still think the Power Fists are kind of wasted here. Oh, do they get +2 to hit because they're near the warlord? And the banner. Okay, yeah, so I guess okay, so they're not that wasted, but they just have the same AP as sword, so I don't hate this, but I do think it's like if you just had a character that had rerolls, you could potentially save like 40 points. So it's okay, Odd Sods. I don't hate it. You got 2 single attack bikes, and I think if you are just on smaller numbers of attack bikes, I think it's better that they are singles because they're very cheap to reserve and bring in from the side of the board. Here's a question, random question. Can you make if you buy a gladiator, can you magnetize it to be a Reaper or a Lancer? Is that possible? This list seems tailored into orcs. It does a little bit. He's then got a large squad of Devastators and Grav Cannons. There is no drop pod here, which is a little bit strange. You've got the Lancer, with the Stormbolters, and then the Whirlwind. Okay. So a decent amount of fire support, you know, like about 400 points in fire support plus the Whirlwind. I guess the +1 from the banner, either on the Death Company or the Guard, is good. I feel like it misses like Astaroth or Chapter Master rerolls. I guess, yeah, that's my main worry with this list. Like, I think that Blood Angels get Chapter Master rerolls give a ton of value, and I honestly think Chapter Master rerolls are one of the best things in the game, and I guess when you have a Chapter Master that can give his rerolls to one squad, then he can be next to a squad of Sanguinary Guard to make them +1 to hit and reroll ones. Like, it's just one of the best things that we have going for us. Like, it just increases our damage potential so much. Maybe in some armies it can be neutered, yes. But I would say like 85-90% of battles, the Chapter Master can be so valuable. So that's why I don't love not having him and then not having rerolls with the Fists or even the Sandguard or any of these 4 two Death Company hammers. Yes, we can get +1 from the banner, but I mean the rerolls from the Chapter Master are always going to be more valuable than that +1 from the banner. I think you can magnetize both in the turret side. That's where it's tricky. See, if I bought a gladiator, I might just try and do it myself. I don't know. I don't have any more time off this year, unfortunately, from like my day job. It's easy to magnetize the Reaper or the Lancer. Okay, it's good to know. It's very good to know. Odd Sod says this was a bit of a novelty combo. Yeah, I mean, in general, I like the sort of breakdown of the list. Like the Librarian for Blade is good. The Priest to get the Salt Doctrine is good. The Ancient for the additional movement and Rites of War is good. Your heavy support is good. Personally, I just think, like, I feel like you leave a lot on the table by not having that Chapter Master. So yeah, I mean that's a tough choice where I am at the moment as well. Odd Sods, like, I always try and stay away from 4 characters, but there's like a very good argument, I suppose, that like having that 4th character could be worth it, even though you give up more points to assassinate, even though you have to give up another squad of guys because the character's another 100 points or something, you know. So it's like it's a tough question, isn't it? My thought was like, I don't know if you watched my video. Yeah, just last thought on the list, right? Don't know if you watched my video a few weeks back when I spoke about Death Company and like how you buff them to give them the most damage, right? I think the video was called like Best Buffs from the Death Company. Here, I got the slides. I made a few weeks ago. Survive Death Company without Assault Doctor and hitting on 4s into Leviathan Dreadnought do 5.56 damage. If you put Chapter Master rerolls on them, it literally increases their damage output by 50%. So, like, if you have a +1 of their damage is only 16%. So your Chapter Master rerolls are going to do, like, they're going to be 3 times as effective as +1 to hit, which is what your Ancient can do. So that's to me what gives the what gives the Captain +1 to hit. The Sanguinary Guard have a thing on their data slate. It wouldn't work for the Death Company. It's on the Sanguinary Guard data slate, which is here. Heirs of Azcalon. Not entirely sure how you say his name, to be honest. He's just like, if the Sanguinary Guard within 6 of your Warlord, it's +1 to hit. So if your Warlord is a Captain or a Chapter Master and you reroll 1s, then what happens is you become hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s. And then that's... Hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s is 97% chance to hit. So I mean, that's huge, I guess, right? So that's why I can't drop my Chapter Master. People have asked me before, like, why do you always run a Chapter Master? It's pretty much that. It's like a 30 or 40% damage buff on Sanguinary Guard, and also Chapter Master rerolls on another unit, like we just saw with the Death Company, is a 50% damage buff. So I like everything about your list. I don't like having no Chapter Master. How many CP were you starting with? 3? Yeah, I mean, I'd even consider putting both attack bikes and your squad of assault intercessors into reserve for 1 CP. But yeah, and sometimes assassination is a trap to pick. So, I mean, maybe you could go 4 characters, but like I said, you have to give up a bit to go for the 4th character. But James is loving the Lancer. I guess do I need to proxy a Lancer, or that's one thing about Blade of Sanguinius, and Assassinate is the same. Like, at the end of a game, let's say you did go 4 characters and an enemy killed 2 of them and you had like 2 left and they're both pretty weak. At the end of a game as a Blood Angels player, typically your characters will move a minimum of like 14 inches if you advance them, right? Because it's 12 plus 1 from advancing, plus 1, and then you'd roll a 1. So at the end of the game, if both of your characters are low and let's say they've got 6 points from that secondary, could you just run your characters away into a corner of the board, obscure them? I mean, I've done it before with my Chapter Master on a bike. I've just moved 20 inches away from the enemy and just thought, like, yes, my bike captain could take me another objective, but also just deny 4 points if they can't kill him. So, you could easily proxy the Impulsor as a gladiator. Interesting. Maybe I'll do that. This week, James, because I'm not going to run the Strays this week. The Strays is going back on the shelf. All right, Pricey 586. I saw you tune in earlier to the stream. Thanks for being here. Let's check your list out. In my opinion, oh, is this the start? In my opinion, Mephiston's really nice. He's deny an ability to support troops and deal a lot of damage. It's true. And he is survivable as well. His damage is annoyingly spiky. Or swingy, I guess, because it's D3. But overall, yeah, I agree Mephiston isn't a bad character. So here's my submission in the army list. I would like to hear your thoughts. So you're going to a tournament on the 12th. God damn it. I hope I just haven't missed your tournament. Potentially, I guess I have. Sorry. I guess the queue for army list is like 2 weeks. Maybe just over 2 weeks at this point. This is the first one I ever go to, and I wanted to do the best. Alright, well, if you have already been pricey, let us know in the chat, and I will... Let us know what you struggled into. Otherwise, let's have a look. So, we've got Litany of Faith, which is good. Mortal Protection. We've got Mantra of Strength to give the bonus damage. He's got Master of Sanctity. He's got an Infernal Pistol. And he's the Wise Orator. Cool. Okay, so a Chaplain, who seems pretty decent. We also have Mephiston with Unleash Rage, Shield, and Wings. Shield seems like an interesting pick because It's only a 5 up invulnerable save. I guess typically you need to be hit with like -4 now to negate 5 up invuln. So shield, I'd probably prefer quickening. I run Mephiston with quickening over shield. I don't take shield anymore. You couldn't go as the army wasn't fully built and had work. Okay, alright, well cool, then we can talk about it, pricey. You then have a Primaris Lieutenant with a Storm Shield, and he's the one from the Indomitus box. I feel like it would be nice to have Rights of War somewhere in here. I guess your only real choice... I mean, the Chaplain could take it because you could play Angel's Exemplar on him because you're your Warlord. So yeah, I would run Rights of War on either your Chaplain or your Lieutenant. I feel like it's going to be potentially better on your Chaplain, but I feel your Lieutenant's going to survive better. So 50-50 where you pick it. If you've not run Rights of War before, start running it because it's so valuable. Like it'll Rights of War will win you games in tournaments all the time. It'll just make your scoring so much more reliable. Alright, Assault Intercessors and Cursors and Intercessors with auto bolt rifles. This is all fine. I think your Intercessor Sergeant has a Power Fist. Again, that's fine. I feel like more optimally I would probably just take the Power Sword now. But I think Power Fist is fine as well. Okay. You got Blade Guard. You got 4 of them. That's 145 points. I think Blade Guard are interesting now and they kind of get ignored for Sangre Guard. But I see here you've got an Impulsor. And again, you've paid for the Shield Dome on here. I feel like the Shield Dome is, again, maybe not needed, but I guess you could pay the 10 points and have the 5 up in fun, maybe. Again, it comes down to, is the enemy got a ton of -4 weaponry? I guess if they do, then the Shield Dome has value. If they don't have -4 weaponry, then it has no value, right? So you've got the Blade Guard and the Impulsor, that's cool. You've got the Death Company with the Hammers and the Infernal Pistol and the Power Sword. I like all that. You then have a Primaris Apothecary with Selfless Healer and Visage of Death. Okay, I mean... Rights of War is better than Visage. If you have to have one of them, I reckon Rights of War is the better pick. I guess having an Apothecary with Visage is fine, but one of the most important things I think to mention here actually is like having a Sanguinary Priest is gonna be even more important than like this Lieutenant and this Apothecary together, because the thing about the Sanguinary Priest is he's going to get your units into Assault Doctrine in turn 1. Our units just, you know, every unit gets more attacks, every unit gets more EP. Assault Doctrine is super important, I guess. I feel like there's 2 ways to play Blind Angels in my opinion. One is you have a Priest with Assault Doctrine, the other is that you have a Tech Marine and you go a bit heavier into armor. I've done both over the last 2 years at tournaments, but I think that like the optimal thing for this list is to remove the Lieutenant, remove the Apothecary, and get a Sanguinary Priest with a jump pack. Selfless Healer, take it or leave it. But Rights of War is an important thing. If you really want Selfless Healer and Rights of War, then change your Warlord onto the Sanguinary Priest, because this guy only has one Warlord trait, right? So it wouldn't be a problem. He could just be a hero of the chapter. I suppose the only thing that would be different would be that the Sanguinary Guard would now need to be with the Priest rather than the Warlord for their +1 to hit. I guess your plan here is to have the Primaris Apothecary in the Impulsor. Yeah. I was going to say... I just think the Sanguinary Priest opens up so many more plays, and he's also so much more mobile. I think it's just better. I get what you're trying to do, but like again, no one's doing it at top level, high level competitive play. So if that's what you like, go for it. Like, I'm not here to tell you change. You must change your list, or you shall never come back to another live stream. No, do what the hell you want. I'm just telling you what people are playing and what's perceived as stronger, right? Then you have a Redemptor with the rocket pods, the plasma, and the onslaught, and this is the right way to equip your Redemptor. Sanguinary Guard are in a good state with like mostly swords and a couple axes. This is the right way to have the squad, in my opinion. If you're playing a unit, if you're playing against an enemy that doesn't have Armor of Contempt, take your sword models off. If you are playing against Armor of Contempt unit, take your axe models off. You then have the Inceptors with the plasmas. I feel like the plasmas are going to need rerolls to be super effective, right? Because you can't really... You can play the strat when they come down so they hit on 2s. But shooting them high power is going to be pretty risky without any rerolls. So I guess you just have to be aware of that. Unless you drop them next to the Redemptor and remember in the command phase to pop Wisdom of the Ancient to give the 1 reroll bubble. I guess you could do that as well. So that doesn't seem too bad. Small squad of Eradicators, then the Impulsor. So heavy support wise, Inceptors, Eradicators, Redemptor. Yeah, I mean, it's all good. We don't see many people take Impulsors in Blade Guard because when you look at it, like 4 Blade Guard are 145. The Impulsor is basically the cost of 3.5 more. You put both of them together, you've got like 275. You could have a giant squad of Sanguinary Guard for 275, like maybe even 9 models. So most people would right now would just take the Sanguinary Guard, thinking that like they could jump them from cover to cover. But I mean, I guess there maybe is some value in the Impulsor with the Blade Guard inside it. I tried to make that work a couple of times. Maybe I need to go back and give it another shot. Impulsors just seem very expensive. If I was going to run one, I'd probably try and make it as cheap as possible. But then maybe that's why it dies all the time. But like, it's just a transport. Like, you don't want to pay 130 points for a transport. Like, I'd try and make it for 110. Like, I'd run it naked. Even at 110, I feel like it's a lot of points for a transport. You know, like, that Starweaver that the Harlequins were running has, like, 2 heavy shuriken cannons on it, and it's 95 points. You know, like, why? And it's open-topped, so the bloody thing, the models inside can just shoot out of it, and it's -1 to hit. Blah 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 blah. I mean, don't get me started on why Space Marine transports are so expensive. But this is probably why the Impulsor doesn't see any play, because people perceive it as it's too many points. The Sanguinary Guard and troops we take for other reasons to kill tier 3 guardsmen or for efficiently. Anything with Armor of Contempt is a waste where melee infantry want to jump forward. That's very true as well, Highline Phoenix. My opponents do fall with it as well, so that's why my Redemptor is there. Okay. Yeah, I mean, overall it seems reasonably decent. Like I said, no one's playing Blade Guard and Impulsors, but, I mean, you can try it. It is ablative wounds. It can just stick around and annoy people on an objective. If you ever want to shoot the Inceptors on high power, they gotta come in next to the Redemptor, and I think you would benefit a lot from a Sanguinary Priest with a jump pack. Have you got a Sanguinary Priest with a jump pack? Because that's really what this boils down to. Like, I think that's a really good pick. And then I guess, like what I said, you know, I really rate the Chapter Master, but like some people really like the Chaplain. You know. It is interesting to take Wise Orator, but to not take the one that boosts your charge range. But this actually seems like quite a balanced list where like you don't have as much jump units as we see typically from many Blood Angels players. And the one thing I want to say about that is I've done this as well at a tournament. I was going to say the video is probably on the channel, so you can probably watch it. I was going to say, where do I put my tournament videos? If you go to like YouTube/C/Blood Angels Commander and you scroll down to, I think it's going to be the competitive army list playlist, and was this it?
Organization.
No. Yeah, this might be it, actually. This was a list. Yeah, this was an army list I took, right? Where like I did pretty well at this GT. Was there a picture of the points somewhere? Did I cap from BCP anywhere? I don't know. Yeah, I did cap from BCP. Hold on. I came fifth with 4 wins, 1 loss, and 385 battle points. I didn't score super high, I guess. But do you know what? I played the guy that went 5-0. So all these other people that were like 4 wins above me, none of them went 4-0. They all went 3-1 and had an easier final game, right? And in this list, I only had my 1 squad of Sanguinary Guard, and then like my Terminators were deep striking, right? So like I felt that like so much of the weight of the list was on that squad of Sanguinary Guard and the Terminators getting into melee, doing a ton of damage, and I feel like this is kind of going to be a little bit the same. You've got that 1 squad of Sanguinary Guard, you've got that 1 squad of Death Company. They're going to have to do so much work because we aren't really a shooting faction, and yes, we can shoot, but we're not a shooting faction, and we've got a bunch of shooting here, and then we've also got the Impulsor, which is kind of, like I said, dead weight in points. So it's going to be... If you were taking this to a tournament, I would be worried potentially, and like I said, I already did it once. I felt like there was so much weight on that 1 squad of Sanguinary Guard, and if I got a bad game, then it was... I sound a little salty about the Harlequins. Yeah, I am probably a little salty about the Harlequins, dude. They, I think they just counter us really, really effectively. Jim's are salty that Impulsors aren't open topped. Yeah, look at the model. They're literally fucking open topped, right, Jim? Like, you could stand a whole squad of Hellblasters on top of a repulsor, an Impulsor and shoot out of it. If they made Impulsors open topped, then, you know, maybe that would... I mean, that's what they are. They're fucking open topped, right? Okay, let's move on to Turkey's last list. If you, Pricey, if you've got any questions, please hit me up in chat. Cool. All right. Turkey. He's a long-time commenter. He's a first-time viewer. I think this is trying to troll me. Long-time commenter, first-time viewer. I think he's trolling me. Jim says there's no roof. Yeah, I know there's no roof. There's no roof. I made a silly little list of plastic dudes. Feel free to constructively roast it on the army list show. Alright, so you're starting on 1 CPs at 2,000 points. Thanks, Carter. Thanks for watching as well. I haven't had a list from you, Carter, yet, right? Please submit one at some point when you're feeling confident. Or even if you're not feeling confident. I mean, that's... You're a channel member. You deserve to have your list talked about and hopefully improved. I would love to see it sometime. Thanks again for watching. James just shared a template document and some instructions to convert an Impulsor into a Gladiator in the Discord modeling thread if you have a spare turret, and then you can convert your existing Impulsor. I want to finish painting my Impulsor. I just don't ever feel like I field it, I guess. Maybe, I mean... Should I just field a naked Impulsor with 5 Blade Guard and like a Judas CR inside it and ditch the Whirlwind, maybe? I mean, like, there we go. Fight last in the middle of the board, have some fun or something. We'll see. Alright, so I already quickly looked through Turkey's list. And the reason I did that was just because before this stream, I couldn't remember last week if I'd copied all the lists from last week into the previous folder, so I just wanted to make sure that it was all up to date. And Turkey's list is like based on the fact that I just came out of a tournament, and whenever you come out of a tournament that you didn't win, which I guess always happens to me because I never win, you think like, what do I need to run next? Like, what's going to be next? Like, how do I win a bloody tournament? Because that, you know, it's going to be even harder next time because it's going to be 5-game GT. But yeah, so how do I win a tournament? And I looked at this list very quickly just to make sure. And when I looked at it, I was like, this is what I'm thinking. Like, I don't have a better solution in the near future. So this list goes back to like what I played probably like a year ago. I'm sure I've probably played this exact list at one point, give or take like one or two models, and something like this, I think, is going to be what it's going to take for me to win an event. And it's like you get your chapter master with the soul warden. You've got like I was going to say he's got the relic blade, so this guy's a jump pack. It's saying relic, and he's got angel artifice. So yeah, in my case, I'm going to run a chapter master on a bike with soul warden and armor indomitus. It's basically the same thing, right? He's then got the librarian with quickening, unleash, rage, and blood boil, and there's a chief librarian with a jump pack and psychic mastery. So I'm thinking maybe we go back to the firstborn librarian with null zone, but a very similar list. Like, he's psychic master and he's got a jump pack. And he's running the librarian discipline rather than the sanguine guard discipline. As much as I like unleash rage, like, I think like Harley's, I guess, null zone is going to be huge, right? Like, I beat Harley's last time I played them at an event, and I had null zone because I null zoned their jet bikes and just killed all the jet bikes in like one turn. And like, yes, my priest probably died. I'm like 90% sure he died, but killing all the jet bikes in like one turn won me that game. So like, I'm thinking maybe I need to go back to a psychic mastery jump librarian like this, but go null zone, maybe go like mighty heroes or something like that, right? Veil of time, I guess. Because you get a third power, obviously, and I don't think you need psychic fortress anymore. Maybe you could even run fortress. I guess it depends. We've got the Sanguinary Priest, who is the Rites of War character here, and he's also got the Vision of Death. I think you need the Sanguinary Priest as a Blood Angel player. I might even be tempted to go back to giving Selfless Healer a try out. Yeah, so like these three characters, and I've run that list that we just looked at, or maybe it wasn't that tournament, but I've definitely run this exact shit at a tournament. Like Chapter Master, Librarian with a jump pack, Sanguinary Priest with a jump pack. That is my three characters. I think that's probably what I have to run. Assault, Intercessors, and Cursors, Infiltrators. I mean, I always run a combination of these, so this is all fine. Death Company, we've also got a mix here with a few Infernal Pistols and Power Swords. We've talked about that like 3 times on the stream. While a lot of people used to say it's always about the Death Company Thunderhammers, I think there's pretty good merit, based on how cheap they are now, for Infernal Pistols and Power Swords. I need to get some, I need to make some. We then have a couple of Redemptor Dreadnoughts, and this is where I think I differ on this a little bit. Like, I think Redemptors are decent. I like how they cost no CP. I think there is things that they're still weak against, but I think like you either go Redemptors and bearing the fact that they're going to profile and get worse, but they're core so they can get Chapter Master, a bit of help from the Chapter Master. You can do that, or you can go the Relic Contemptors, but you have to pay the 1 CP, and then you can go like the double Volkites. And like if you think back like a year's time when double Volkites were 20 points less, well, your Sanguinary Guard were 20 points more, so actually it's kind of the same, right? If you like, I could go back a year's time and run the exact same list, same number of Sanguinary Guards, same number of Relic Contemptors. The list would actually be valid now because both of those changed. I spoke to one of the guys in Team Scotland at one of the events that I went 4-1 on, and it was at one of the events that I ran Double Redemptor, and he said to me like, I think he might have gone 5-0. He said to me that I need to be running Relic Contemptors for the Volkite cannons, right? Like, and he was like, you know, he liked what I did with Blood Angels. That was a tournament where I beat some really top players as well. But he was saying like, you know, if you come into like Eldar, which Dark Eldar actually, or Harlequins or whatever, you need Volkites are actually really good against their vehicles, right? Because like it's weight of fire, it's 2 damage a shot, and the AP doesn't matter because they're just on a 4-up invulnerable save, right? So they like totally eclipse Redemptor Dreadnoughts for killing their transports. So yeah, my thought is like maybe Blood Angels might want to fall back on double Volkites here. I don't love double Volkites because it means like in the melee combat phase they're crap, like they're totally crap. But and they cost CP as well, and CP is weak right now. But like maybe we need to think about like one Redemptor, one Volkite. We then need to. Then you've got a couple of squad of Sangre Guard, which is fine. You get the Whirlwind for the fight last, and you've got the Relic Terminator squad. And I think that like, well, I ran Terminators. I think they're decent. They're very survivable. They're 3 wounds now, and Sangre Guard are obviously very decent as well. So like, this sort of list, or the core of it, or the meat and potatoes of it, I guess, is what I think is probably the best to run for Blood Angels right now. If you want a list that will fight everything. So the variances on the Dreadnoughts, on the weapons, on the Death Company. This third squad, this squad of Terminators could easily be another squad of Death Company or another squad of Sangre Guard. Totally interchangeable. The only other thing that I think that might be an option here could be like attack bikes. Or I don't know if I would go 10 Reavers with grav shoots, but I could get on board with going like 5 Reavers for an Action Monkey squad, or probably what might be better would just be the 5-man assault squad, right? Because they could just bounce around and do stuff for you as well. It's annoying and silly that Relic Terminators can't take the teleport homer. Yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of is. So yeah, that's my thoughts. Like that's where I am. I think there's probably some play around the Centurions as well. Like some people are taking these blocks of Centurions. We haven't seen too many people taking attack bikes. We've also seen, the ongoing debate about like, how do you get this list submitted, Peter? It's very easy, Peter. All you need to do is like, you would go over to YouTube. If I can ever type it, you go on /C/Blood Angels Commander. So you'd see a page a bit like this. You click community, and then you just post it. Like you would just click comment on the latest community post, and you would just put it in there. And by the way, if you guys didn't know, we did do a deep dive. 600 people viewed it. It's actually our best ever. It's getting 8 views per hour apparently. It's our best ever podcast episode where we did a deep dive into the Squats Codex, talked about all the balance things that they have in there. Spoiler, is not balanced. And apparently they've played 2 games on Warhammer Plus of the Squats, and they've just absolutely smashed through the people that they've had to play against. So check that out as well if you want. And if you haven't subscribed to our podcast yet, I would love it if you would consider doing that. So, but yeah, you just post your comment here. You just click on whichever post, whichever you just put it in one of these. Cool. So yeah, as far as Turkey goes, then I prefer the Chapter Master on the bike. The one without is fine. I think there's probably going to be. I feel very sad to potentially lose Unleash Rage, because I think it's a great power to have. The Exploding Sixes on Death Company or Sangard are huge sometimes. They're the difference between you killing a knight and not killing a knight. But Null Zone will do probably just as much. It just means that sometimes when you Null Zone, your character kind of has to just die. Which is going to be tough, I guess. And that's kind of when I moved away from my librarian, because my character always used to die. But 4 jump units supported by some sort of fire support seems to me like the most logical sense. And then obviously the whirlwind can sit there in the backfield. Could there be a play around not having a whirlwind? I think so. The one thing the whirlwind will give you is that sort of guaranteed no overwatch. And sometimes that can be pretty huge. The squat seed padded jackets and helmets with ear guards. They look like... Yeah, I saw someone do Teenage Mutant Turtles theme for them. Thanks so much for watching tonight, James. I appreciate it. Reziel is actually going to unleash Rage tomorrow. Let us know how you get on with Unleash Rage, Reziel. I'd love to hear. Yeah. Some people love the space dwarves or loathe them. Either way, it gets clicks. Yeah, I mean, it's going to get clicks. Have you experimented with building around Fury of the Lost at all? I'm tempted, DTM. I'm tempted to run 3 squads of Death Company and like a Death Company captain. I made a custom Death Company captain on a bike. The problem that I would have is if I go and build a Death Company captain on a bike, right? Then I probably would still want to run a Chapter Master. Then I probably would feel forced to run the Priest, which means then that would mean no Librarian, no Chaplain, and no... I guess really no Librarian, no Chaplain, right? And no Sanguinary Ancient, because I don't love running 4 characters. I don't think Blood Angels lists are strong with 4 characters. I think I've seen some people run 4, but I don't think it's for me. So I'm back to the drawing board. I basically have like, I don't know, about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 games before my next tournament. I think my next list might look a lot more like this. If my commission ever gets finished, then maybe I would lose... Like, it would be nice to lose, like, one of these Redemptors for, like, a laser destroyer or something. And then maybe... maybe figure out a way to get, like, the squad of Voidsman at arms in there or something. So that there's, like, another unit that can do some actions. Did you see the Necromunda Orlok Masters and Wrecker models as potentially Voidsman models? I already bought them, Highland Phoenix. Just the guy that was painting them is dragging his heel with something terrible. I bought 10 for Voidsman at arms. JT Money says, John, thanks for putting in the time and effort you do each week. Streams like this always feel like I'm at the shop talking 40k. You're more than welcome, JT Money. Thank you for watching every week or as often as you do watch. I do appreciate it. You're running 4 Psychers? That's an interesting test. I guess it opens up Psychic Mastery. Maybe that's what... run Mephiston, a Librarian Dreadnought, I guess a Priest, and then Inquisitor. Have I run 4 characters in 9th? If you go back to the drawing board, maybe Hero Hammer has merits. I don't think it does. I have run 4 characters in 9th. I ran it. I ran it at a GT almost probably like a year to the day. Because I think it was September last year, and it was a big GT, and I did well in it, but I just felt like units generally just feel better than characters now. Like, especially as Blood Angels, like, if you took like a 4-man squad of Sanguinary Guard, which is like 120 points, you put that against like a Smash Captain, which would probably be like 120, 130 points or something. The 4-man unit's getting 20 attacks. Hitting on 3s, probably wounding on like 2s or 3s. Your captain's maybe getting like 7 attacks, hitting on 2s. So, and then he's probably wounding similarly. So like it's like the squads will generally do just so much more damage, and probably survive so much more. Yeah. So I mean, I think you can if you don't go ham on the number of points, you can run 4 characters on a Blood Angels list. You know, you pick some cheap ones like a Death Company captain. He can be pretty cheap if you give him Teeth of Terra. Like he can be like 100 points and get like 10 attacks. So you can keep them reasonably cheap and you can do work with them. Maybe I'll give it a go. I don't know. Maybe I'll make a Fury of the Lost list that's 3 Death Company. And 4 characters. Maybe I'll do it. I'll have a think. I do have this where is he? I do have this Inquisitor that needs built. Which is the custom one you can do whatever the hell you want with. He's like the limited edition one. So yeah, what I need is like a month off work to just do tons of modelling and give myself loads of options. Unfortunately, that's not the reality. Like JT said, I spent a lot of time doing YouTube videos. Anyway, I'll think about it. Guys, thank you so much for all the list submissions this week. Turkey, I hope I gave you some good feedback. I hope I gave everybody some good feedback tonight. I am going to bail though. I got a little bit of work to do tomorrow. Highland Phoenix, Carter, James, thank you so much for the donations and the gifted memberships. Always super appreciated. I'm sure I'll see you guys in the Discord and the new people that became members tonight. Make sure you join up on our Discord as well. Yeah, and if there's any questions, you can hit me up there. And I'm sure there's more content to come. Yeah, this week tomorrow I took photos of BCP, of the games, of the tables, of everything. So I'm gonna put all those into some slides. I'm gonna talk over all that. I'm gonna have a new video out on my experience of taking a super heavy tank to a RTT on Friday. So that's what I'll have. And hopefully you guys can learn something from it. Maybe one day I'll win a tournament. One day it's gonna come. It's gonna come. It's like all these other tournaments. I let myself down in battle points yesterday. I did second best in the entire event in battle points, but I let myself down in wins. So, cool. You're more than welcome for your feedback. Thanks so much again for watching. Enjoy the rest of your night, guys. I will catch you soon. By the blood are we made strong. Peace.